Hello, welcome to The Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and this is a video which I honestly don't really want to make. I'm live with the Twitch chat, and we've been talking about Age of Sigmar 4 and the upcoming news, and the video that I'm making today, or the video you're about to watch, as you've seen from the thumbnail and the title, is a video about the fact that Games Workshop will be removing many miniatures from their production, and therefore from legality in playing in Age of Sigmar 4. And just off the top, straight away, this sucks. It sucks a lot. Games Workshop, not Games Workshop, everything else. I kind of want to leave them to the side, the corporate decision, expanding growth, all these other things that we could talk about in the comments, and we should talk in the comments below this video. I just want to say, if you were negatively affected by this announcement, that sucks, and I empathize massively. As someone who went from Warhammer Fantasy Battle into Age of Sigmar to 2 or 3 of his different armies getting legended or removed from the game, having to rebase stuff, and then having been through this game as miniatures have become unavailable or changed, I've been through this experience, and so I know what it's like to be on the other end of this. The one thing I will say as like a silver lining, and I know that's going to be really hard to see right now, is that your gamer friends, your local community will consistently be supportive of you. Like if you wanted to use some of your old Stormcast models as, your new Stormcast models and, or use them in place of, no one is going to care. Like no one is going to care. Event organizers aren't going to care. I'm not going to care. And so while it feels not okay to have like the updated minis, I guess, some people will feel that way. The most normal person is not going to feel like that. That is the only solace I can give you in what is a bad time. And it is a bad time. And I'm sorry about that. And I'd just like to say as well, before anyone goes into the comments and say, well, actually, Games Workshop needs to get rid of the bloat. It's actually good, actually. Don't say that. Give people the room and the breathing room to just be sad about how they feel about what's going on, right? Just let that happen. And then we can take it from there, because I think that's the only healthy thing. The only thing that's healthy there. Okay, so this is the article where they've announced it. I'll include it in the links below. What's leaving the Warhammer Age of Sigmar range and why? Okay. With the latest edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar on the horizon, the news that every single war score in the game has been assessed and balanced, it is sad but necessary truth that certain miniatures are leaving the range. Every Citadel miniature is a unique piece of... Oh, shush. As we make new models and new books to explore their background and rules, we have to stop producing and featuring some older models. But just like many of you, we still treasure our collections of older miniatures, and we still want to be able to use them in games in the Forge, Glorious, whatever. So, and it's pretty massive. 2 factions, Beasts of Chaos and Bonesplitterz, as well as a number of older Stormcast Eternals from the Sacrosanct and Warrior Chambers, will be receiving free-to-download digital battle tomes. These will feature new background and rules and will be considered legal for use in competitive play until the summer of 2025, so for the first year of the game. At this point, they will move over to Warhammer Legends and will no longer be supported for competitive play. So you have about a year left on your Beast of Chaos army and also your Bonesplitterz army. Now, I mean, you could play the old world, but that's like, Rob, shut up. That's like such a slap in the face. You can use your minis, but in a completely different setting with different people who don't play. That's fair. But, your Beast of Chaos army could very easily be like a Slaves to Darkness army. You could use Minotaurs as Theridons, or your big bulls as Theridons. I wouldn't mind if you ended up using Gore as your different Dark Oath characters. That works for me as well, so that's fine. Bonesplitterz is a little bit harder because they don't necessarily have a 1-for-1. But, again, I would be very comfortable with people using them as other models in the game, which is how I would work. So, yes. I guess what they're doing is they're putting out... Some people are going to say... The fact that they're putting out a PDF or a battle scroll for these armies so that you can be playable for a little bit to give you time to transition is nice. And I guess I am on that side. I do think that's nice as well. And I do understand that things have to eventually come out of production or come out of the cycle. I think the major issue is that I guess this is a year's notice. I guess this is okay. I guess the real question is should they have said 3 years ago, by the way, when we get around to Age of Sigmar 4, we're going to be getting rid of some of these factions. The reason is we've known this has been true for a while. I've been talking about it many times on the show. I've had a lot of criticisms from the community from talking about the fact that these will be going away. I've been talking about why I think they're going to be away, and why I take no delight in being right, especially at everyone's expense. These are things that if you pay enough attention to what the company do, are obvious are going to come. So it's an unfortunate but foreseeable thing. But that's not the point, right? Many of you are not full-time Warhammer streamers. You should just have an announcement ahead of time. So here we go. We encourage you to continue using your collection for casual play, and we'll continue to support this content with rules and balance updates as needed through the edition. I would say they won't. They barely support the main game. Our latest FAQ that they did for Age of Sigmar recently was nearly 3 months late. It was like 2.5 months late, so I really don't think it's going to happen. Additionally, a number of older Warcry and Warhammer Underworlds warbands from Slave Starters will go off sale and enter Legends. This is pretty huge, actually. Many more Underworlds warbands will remain on sale and will be supported only by Digital Legend War Scrolls in the next edition. And so those Underworld warbands probably won't be playable in the new edition. I assume that's because we're going to see Underworlds getting deleted, like full stop. I assume that's getting closed down as a business. A handful of units, mostly those using older resin miniatures, will also be retired from the range and move over to Warhammer Legends. Now, shocking for many people, but not for me, because if you literally watch the last video I made where we talked about Liberators, I said I expected many of these miniatures to go away, is the Stormcast Eternal range being gutted. We begin with Sigmar's finest, the Stormcast Eternals, who have only one of the largest miniature ranges in Warhammer history. With so many war scrolls, often for troops who have similar fighting styles, certain units are returning to the distant halls of Azir. These include the entire Sacrosanct Chamber, which is 2nd edition, who have decided to work on the cure for the curse of reforging from their workshops in the realm of the heavens. Might see them for Age of Sigmar. I expect Age of Sigmar 5 to just be slimcast these miniatures. They are being joined by numerous heroes, as well as some of the most venerable fighters amongst the Storm hosts. The older Liberators, plus Judicators, Paladins, Prosecutors, certain named characters, which is wild, have been fighting the war against Chaos since the dawn of the Age of Sigmar, and have also drawn back from the front lines. So we're losing the Ballista, Evocators, on Dracolines, which is such a sad drop. So sad about the Evocators on Dracolines. Sequitors, Knight Heralder, Vexler, Lord Castellan. Some of this is like 1st edition stuff. Then the Ordinator. I remember him coming out and being like, that's such a badass model. Lord Exorcist. Obviously, Judicators, Paladins, Libs. These are all going to get updated sculpts. All of these will get updated sculpts in our Age of Sigmar release. For instance, we've seen new Liberators. We'll see new Judicators. I assume we'll see new Paladins. We know new Prosecutors are in the launch box for Age of Sigmar, so that's going to be in there as well. And then we're losing Gavriel Shoreheart, which is honestly wild. Gav at one point was one of the most famous Stormcast on like miniature event space, and it's just crazy. Christmas 2025 box, Slimcast Sacrosanct, 100% coming, I think. Astria Soulblight, Aventis Firestrike, and then the Errant Quester. Soon after the release of the new edition, a battle tome containing most of these war scrolls will be made available to download for free in Warhammer community, representing those warriors who are simply too devoted for their cause to return to Azir. So you will be able to play them for a while, but you know this is a big deal. Most of this is Age. I mean, you can just use the old Liberators as new Liberators. They don't look that different. Like, sorry to Stormcast fans, but they don't. You might want to upgrade, you might not. Judicator's the same, Paladin's the same. I guess the big deal here is the Ballista, which doesn't really have a 1-for-1, and the Evocators on Dracolines, which doesn't have a 1-for-1. Okay. Next up is Skaven. This makes sense because we know that Age of Sigmar 4 is going to feature Skaven. The Instigator is the Vermin Doom, or the Radicalism, which is obviously an excellent name, many of which will be replaced with the fantastic new ones in due course. But with this radicalism that's still unfolding, none but the Greyseers can predict where these replacements will fall. Safe to say these Skaven will have plenty of tricks left up their ragged sleeves. So all of the one, I mean, good here, yeah, good. They shouldn't be selling Scryer Acolytes for $15, a thing. Clan Rat's going. I have said in my prediction video, go back and what do we think is going to be in Age of Sigmar 4. I did say that I think we're going to see new Clan Rats in the launch box, so they're there. And then everything else going away is kind of good it's going away because we know they're going to get updated. This isn't going away and isn't being updated. This is going away because it's being updated. So Skaven fans not in shambles, Stormcast fans in shambles, Beast of Chaos fans in shambles, and then Bonesplitterz fans in shambles. Bonesplitterz. For the Armoured Bulk, the Iron Jaws, the Lanky, kind of the Cruel Boys, the Uruk War clans, as diverse as they are vicious. However, the Bonesplitterz sub-faction is also leaving the range. They'll receive Battleton Bonesplitterz as a free download. All Bonesplitterz going. Now, this has been something that absolutely everyone has known for a very long time. And we've all talked about, and we've seen them drop off from tournament play, people selling their armies, and obviously people are buying these miniatures up to use in the old world at the moment. But these will be gone. All these miniatures will go into that, and I highly doubt we're going to see Bonesplitterz return at all. Like, I don't think we're going to see, Bonesplitterz further down the line. I think we'll see Uruks of different types. We'll see Wave 2 of, we've kind of seen Wave 2 of Ironjaws. We'll see Wave 2 of the Cruel Boys, and maybe we'll see some other types of Uruks. But I doubt we'll see anything like Savage Orcs again in Age Sigmar. But we could, I'm not sure. And that is sad. They're very narrative and they're very cool. Shout out to all of those guys. Slaves of Darkness. With the arrival of the Dark Oath, the Slaves of Darkness have finally found their definitive mortal followers. This means a number of warbands representing the wider worshippers of chaos in the mortal realms will be retiring from the spotlight. This mostly involves warbands from the previous edition of Warcry, as well as Karga's Ravagers and some Underworld warbands. Now, this is wild to me. Wild to me, because these are some of the best sculpts in Age of Sigmar, if not from Games Workshop. Scions of the Flame are stunning. Splintered Fang are stunning. Tarantulas Brood, Corvus Cabal, they're just insanely great sculpts. And I recently, because I was building a Warriors of Chaos army for Old World, I picked up tons of Scions of the Flames. I think I picked up like 3 boxes. But now, first thing I'm doing today is running to my local game store to try and grab any Splinter Fang or Corvus Cabal or Tarantulas Brood I can, because those are just great minis. And while I don't know if I'm going to keep them for now, I feel like I want to use them in the future. This might be hinting towards a new Warcry in the future. It might be. That's what we might be seeing. But they've basically been out of production and unavailable on the web store already for months. So I'm pretty shocked by this, to be honest. By the way, I'll talk about some other factions in a minute. Okay, note that Chaos Legionnaires and the unfortunately named Dark Oath Savagers both remain. They are still very much in Archaon's plan. Beasts of Chaos. Beasts of Chaos are leaving Warhammer Age of Sigmar, but they'll be back in the future, or rather the past. Yes, the Beastmen are returning to their old feeding grounds in the world of legend, Warhammer the Old World, as I talked about many times in previous videos. This is very sad. They're an incredibly thematic army, but seeing as they've had 0 updates for 10 years in Age of Sigmar's existence, it's not really a surprise to me. We've also seen all of their updated range, quote unquote, going to other sections of the universe. For instance, you have the Ogroid Mimrodon from Warcry, which is just a new Doom Ball. Ogroid Therodons are your new Minotaurs, and we've seen them just go into Slaves to Darkness. Even Kragnos, who clearly was meant to be the Beast of Chaos centerpiece model, got moved over to Destruction. And I assume maybe he gets retconned at some point out the game, because they've been doing this with all of their the obvious release has just gone in different places, which is wild. So there we go. So they're all out. And that's sad. Some of these models are amazing, but they are also very, very old. But it's very, very thematic and awesome. I'm very sad to see them go. Not every Beastman is existing in the mortal realms. Zangor and Slangor remain. And so they do have some, cheeky, but the wild great phase following Chaos Undivided will soon be repackaged and returned to terrorize the forests of the old world. So there we go. Yeah, the Gorgon is what we've got. And we've seen a bunch of other, I expect anything that's in resin to go. So the Branch Wraith is going, the Eternity Warden is going, Valkyria the Bloody is going, Silent Angrim, the Madcap Shaman is going, the Big Boss Gigantic Spider, and the Mistweaver Shah. So it's a complete range gut from the top down. Also in the future, as battle tomes come out, I expect other miniatures to move out of the range. For instance, with Cities of Sigmar, I expect the Dwarden or the Dispossessed to get moved over to the old world as well. I've talked about this at length, about the war between Specialist Design Studio and Games Workshop Maine, but if anyone wants to... if anyone wants me to make a video about this in detail, in why this is happening, that's effectively why. Games Workshop Maine and then Specialist Design Studio, who make the old world, have been at war about IP for a few years now, and they're basically doing that famous famous picture of those two parents at a divorce breaking up their Beanie Baby collection. This is effectively what you're seeing here. I mean, some of these needed to be refreshed and changed anyway. Massive news for Age of Sigmar. Some people will oddly see this as a positive, and many people are obviously going to see this as a negative. And I empathize definitely with the people who see this as a negative and feel like it's all gone, and their collection is invalid and all those other things. I will say, though, that the community around you is going to support you in loads of different ways. I think that's an important thing to remember. And if you turn up with, your Bonesplitterz army, but they're pretending to be like an army of Cities of Sigmar, that would be a vibe. You kit bash it right and you make it look good. It all works for me. That's the only thing I can say, is that while Games Workshop have always made very heavy-handed like cuts of ranges, especially with like poor communication, I guess that's kind of the feedback from this. Do you think this is good communication? A year, they've done the work on writing the rules so that you've got like a year to kind of transition out the army. Do you think that's okay? Great question. I want to know what you think on that. And let me know what your experiences are with this, because I think a lot of people are going to be really down by this. This is also going to cause a lot of friction between different communities. People are going to be upset. People are going to have their emotions run high, which is sad. So let me know what you think, and just try to be empathetic to everyone else around you in this time. And thanks for listening. And also, you should join our Patreon, because we've got a Discord community of people who are pretty cool, and we'll talk about this there.